The 1911 style pistol is without a doubt one of the most successful combat pistols ever invented. This pistol has, since its acceptance in 1911, armed the United States Navy and Army before being replaced by the Beretta in 1991. The original M1911 was invented by one of the most creative minds to ever live in the firearms world, John Browning. This design has withstood the test of time and real combat and continues to be a design of choice for special forces, law enforcement, and competition shooters worldwide. The information contained herein can be easily adapted to help you disassemble and reassemble any 1911 style pistol you might own or come into contact with, regardless of manufacturer or date of origin. Now, direct from Wilson's Gun Shop, here's Master Pistolsmith Ron Phillips.
Okay, the first thing what we've got here is we've got a brand new Colt Series 80 1991 A1. First thing we're going to do is drop the magazine and check and make sure that the gun is unloaded, of course. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is take the grips off of this. The grip happens to be stuck, you can reach up the mag well and give them a little push off. Flip it over and do the other side. Okay, with the grips off, what we're going to do is search for our safety glasses. We're going to take the recoil spring plug out. Since we found our safety glasses, we'll take a bushing wrench.
What are you doing there? Just turning that?
Just pushing the recoil spring plug down and turning the bushing clockwise. We'll take that out. That relieves the spring tension on the slide. The next thing that we'll do is we'll just slide the slide back to the notch for the slide stop to pop out. We'll pull that out. Then we'll slide the upper assembly off of the frame. What we'll do now is we'll take the guide rod and spring out and we'll lay this over here. Then when you come back to take the barrel out, you turn the bushing counterclockwise, pull the barrel assembly out the front. Lay this over here like so. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to remove the firing pin stop, and the extractor, the 80 series firing pin block device, and we're going to get them out of there to where we can see what they look like. There's always a trick to everything. Usually if you take your left thumb, push the plunger up into the slide, push the firing pin all the way in as far as it'll go and let go of that plunger, it'll actually capture the firing pin spring. What we're going to do now is we're going to slide the firing pin stop out. Then we can cover the rear of the slide with our finger, push the plunger in, and the firing pin will come out the rear. At this point, we can turn loose of that, get a little bigger punch, and start the extractor out the rear. That'll let your 80 series part fall right out.
That's the plunger there, right?
Right, and it come out of this hole.
Okay, hold on, let me see the hole. Go up on, okay.
What we're doing now is we're going to go ahead and pull the extractor out the rear of the slide. Just gently pry that out. There's not a whole lot of tension on it. Pull that right out the back end of the slide.
And that's the extractor?
This is the extractor. It's 100% responsible for getting the empty case out of the fired gun after it's been shot. Lay that over there. That pretty much has the slide fully stripped. What we're going to do now, we're going to lay this down over here for a little bit, pick up the frame, and get started taking it out. Usually the first thing that I do when I take the frame apart is I'll take the thumb safety out. The thumb safety comes out when you land it in between the on and off position and push on the right side stud at the same time you pull on the thumb piece, and it comes right out. But it will not come out if it's in the on position or the off position. You have to be landed in the middle, pull your safety out like so. Okay, at this time we'll go ahead and get the little plunger out.
That comes out the front way only, right?
Comes out the rear only. That little part right there. And when we get ready to put that back in, it will go in small end first. So we'll lay that over here out of the way. At this point, if you'll take and gently let the hammer down, that'll put the spring tension off of the mainspring housing, which will make it a lot easier for the mainspring housing pin to be driven out. We'll take a little punch here and knock that pin out. Takes very small amount of pressure to get that out if you take the hammer, let the hammer down first. You can, if that's stuck just a little bit, you can use the hammer to scoot it out, get the mainspring housing started out, and it comes right on out the bottom, just like that. Then your grip safety will come right out the back side of the frame.
That doesn't really have anything holding it there, right? Except for the...
Right. After you get the thumb safety out, then the only thing holding the grip safety in the frame is the mainspring housing. Now we're going to pull our sear spring out, which fits in the groove in the frame.
Let's see the groove in the frame real quick.
Okay, the lower portion of the this little hook right here fits in this groove in the frame. Keeps it from moving up and down, keeps it positioned on the back of the sear, back of the disconnector, and keeps the outward tension on the lower portion of the grip safety. What we'll do now is we'll take and flip it over to the other side, push this hammer pin and sear pin out of the frame. We'll catch them in the other hand. Then we can pretty much pull these parts out. Give it a little shake, and they usually just fall right out after you get the pins out of them.
And these parts are?
Okay, what we've dropped here is we've got the hammer and the hammer strut.
If you want to stop that just a little bit, Jack. Right.
Here we have the disconnector, the lower 80 series part. This right here would be the upper 80 series part. And the Colt sear, and the mainspring housing pin. Well, when we start putting this back together, we'll go real slow because we're going to lube everything up real nice with the Ultima lube. And when we put it back together, we'll go real slow and give real precise instructions on how to put these back together. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and finish getting this apart. When you get ready to take the magazine catch out, you have to push it out approximately 1/16 of an inch with a small screwdriver. Turn the little lock counterclockwise into the little groove that it fits into in the mag catch. After we get this out, you can see the groove that the counterclockwise turn put the lock into. To finish disassembling this, just rotate it a quarter turn, and it comes out the open side of the mag release. And that turns into 3 parts. At that point, the trigger will slide right out the back of the frame. Okay, we'll back up just a little bit and get the mainspring housing. And what we'll do here is get our glasses. Well, we've got our mainspring housing here, which is basically the last operation of what we have here. It does have the spring and 2 ends of the plunger inside the mainspring housing. We're going to take this over to the vise with a couple of punches to take this out.
Why are you going over the vise?
Because it's really hard to hold it without having the assistance of a vise or a third arm. So we'll put it in the vise to where we can hold it real secure. Then all we have to do is take the larger punch, push down in the center, and bring this little bitty pin out the back side of the mainspring housing. Then gently let your spring and plungers come up.
And what's inside there?
Okay, what we have inside the mainspring housing is basically just an upper plunger that fits inside the spring, the hammer, or the spring that provides power to the hammer through the hammer strut, and the lower plunger.
And that's the lower part?
This is a lower plunger, and whenever the mainspring housing pin is pushed through the frame and the mainspring housing at the same time, this pointed plunger lands in the center groove on the mainspring housing and keeps it captive.
So there it is. Is it all basically apart?
It's all apart.
How many parts are in that gun there? Approximately, I think we counted 41.
41 parts, not counting the frame and the slide and the magazine. Okay, what we're going to do, we've got this gun all taken apart, and when we build a gun here at Wilson's, we like to use the best products that we can get our hands on. And what we've got here is a couple of tubes of Ultima lube. It's working out real well for us. We've got it in a thick oil and a real thick grease for applying to the heavy contact areas. We like to use the oil on the smaller, just mainly moving parts. What we're going to do is try to show you, pretty much exactly where we feel that this lube works the best, and just do a real thorough lubricating job on the pistol.
Plus you're going to put it back together.
Plus we're going to put it back together.
Make sure it works.
Make sure it works properly. First thing we're going to do is take some of the Ultima lube, put a little on the internals of the mainspring housing. Notice how easy it is to apply this stuff to the exact place that you want it, since we've decided to put it in the syringes rather than just a squeeze bottle or something like that. What we're going to do now, we're going to take our internals and go over to the vise real quickly and get our safety glasses and put the mainspring housing back together.
Chris, let me kind of go back out. Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry.
Okay, we'll snug this up in the vise here pretty well. What we'll do is we'll take one of our punches that we've got laying here. Don't really need two punches for this part because we're just going to push the pin back in instead of having to push it out. So we'll push this down in there like so, put the pin in, and it's basically back together. We'll move back over here, lay this down, and as long as we're putting a few small parts together, we'll go ahead and grab the mag catch and the mag catch lock and spring and put them back together. Put a little Ultima lube in the inside, a little bit on the spring. Hit the wear points on this, just basically all around the little lock. Then we'll take and scoot over here on the edge of the bench, push this back in and back for a quarter turn into the lock position. I think we'll start with the slide first. We'll go ahead and get the extractor and the firing pin and the firing pin block back in the slide. Get all these little parts over here.
So what do we have there?
What we've got the extractor, we've got the firing pin and spring, the firing pin block and spring, and the firing pin stop. We'll show you exactly how to put these back in proper sequence after we get a little lube put on the firing pin and the extractor. First thing we want to do is put the extractor in, going in from the rear. And we'll scoot that back just about a 32nd of an inch, where we can take our 80 series plunger and drop it right into the hole. At this point, you can push that up with your left thumb, push your extractor on in, and that will capture the little block mechanism. Take a little bit more of the Ultima lube and put on the slide where it will be sure and have good free movement of that 80 series part. Now what we will do is we'll push that up with our left thumb, drop the firing pin in, push it all the way down, let go of the plunger, and let it back very gently.
And the plunger actually holds that,
The plunger holds everything captive. You don't have to worry about anything as long as you do it just as we've described here. Then the firing pin stop slides right in on top of that. Tap that right in there like so. Push the 80 series part in. Firing pin pops into place. Okay, at this point we'll take some of the Ultima Lube grease, run a little bead of it in the rails. Run a little on, we like to put this on all the heavy wear areas, a little on where the disconnector is going to ride the slide. We'll also slip in here, put a little in the grooves of the locking lugs. Hit all of the contacting surfaces just a little. Okay, we'll go ahead and stick the barrel in the slide. Stick the bushing in, turn it clockwise. We'll slide this back into that position. We'll take our spring and spring guide, stick it in here. Since we've got the barrel in, we'll go ahead and put some of the Ultima Lube grease on the locking lugs. This will be the area that the slide stop rides on. Always helps to have good grease on that to keep it from binding. Okay, we'll lay this aside for just a minute. Go ahead and put the frame back together. We'll start this procedure by putting a little bit of the light oil in the trigger track, where the trigger runs up and down, or back and forth in the frame. That can be done very easily with a long tip syringe. After we've lubed the track for the trigger, we'll take the trigger itself, put just a little bit of the lube on the top and bottom of the pad, and go ahead and put just a little bit on the bow. We'll slide this back into its track. It's kind of hard to screw that up. It just goes back in to its track. There's not really but one way it can go in there. Then we'll take our mag catch, insert it into the frame. Take the small screwdriver.
You push it out a little bit then?
You have to push this out just a little bit and then do the quarter turn, and then it snaps back into place. At this point, we'll take and basically lube the frame, the area between the frame and the mag catch. It's really easier to do it from the outside. We'll just pop that out like so on both top and bottom. Then the other side, we'll just come in and put a little bit of that on all around the button. We'll work that a time or two. Wipe off the excess. At this point, we'll go ahead and put the disconnector, the sear, both 80 series parts, and the hammer back in this frame. Get these laid out where we can really see what we're doing.
What order you put them in?
Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to flip the disconnector up like this. Then we're going to take the sear and actually just lay it right on top of the disconnector.
Okay, let's do one thing real quick. Can we just show a side of that for these guys?
Okay.
That just lays in there just like that.
Right.
All right, then what?
At this point, what we're going to do is we're going to take and pick this up, this little assembly up by the disconnector with a pair of tweezers, and just come right up here and lay it right in the disconnector hole and on the trigger bow.
There's a hole up in the top of the frame.
Right. The disconnector hole runs up through the top of the frame like there, and all you got to do is just start it up in there and lay the bottom of it on the trigger bow. At this point, we'll retrieve our sear pin. We'll start this into the frame. Using the tweezers, we'll line these parts up like this and push it through, almost plumb through the sear. Okay, then we'll reach down, get our little 80 series part right here. This is the one that sits to the right of the sear, right beside the sear on the same pin. We'll just stick that in there and move it around until we can push the sear pin through that part. And what we're going to do next, we're going to take the upper 80 series part and just basically just lay it into position there until we're ready to put the hammer in. What we're going to do right now, we're going to take the hammer and a little bit of the paste or the real thick grease or paste Ultima Lube and squirt some of that on the hammer hooks. This will in turn end up on the sear nose, so we'll just go ahead and put quite a bit of that there, like that. And after we get all these small parts together, we'll use the long nose syringe to oil all the sides of the hammer and the sides of the sear, the disconnector, and all the other parts.
Talk to me a little bit about that trigger. You just slide it in like that?
Okay, the hammer that we've just slid in, you know, we've already got the 80 series part in that sits to the right of the hammer. So then we'll just take the hammer, slide it in like so. I'll use the strut so that we can get a good picture of that. And basically just line up the holes visually, push the pins through. And the 80 series parts don't always line up as easily as that. Sometimes you'll have to for example, take a punch, stick it in there and rotate it around to line up all of those parts.
Yeah.
With a little practice, they go together pretty easily though. We'll drop the hammer down like that, and you can see up in the gun. What we'll do is we'll take our little syringe of Ultima Lube oil and we'll just put quite a little bit of this on all of the contact areas and all of the moving parts. Sides of the hammer. We'll reach up in there and put a little on the hammer pin, strut pin, and the other side of the hammer. And just really just cover or get some of the Ultima Lube on all the moving parts and their contact areas. Okay, at this point we can take and put our sear spring back into its place. This part has to be, this spring right here, this left-hand leaf has to be sitting on top of the left-hand sear leg. If you're looking at it from that area, it has to land on top. At the same time, the bottom edge is dropping into the groove that's cut in the frame. What we'll do is we'll take the little plunger assembly. We'll put some of the lube, Ultima Lube, on both ends of the plunger, then just slide that back into the little tube that it came out of. You can take a little screwdriver, get that started in. Take a little screwdriver and just gently push that right up in there. Careful not to slip and mar the finish on the gun. But whenever you do that, well, it should stick out both ends like that. Okay, what we're going to do now, we're going to slide the or the mainspring housing up into the frame. We're going to scoot that back to where it'll sit on the top plunger in the mainspring housing. Then we're going to put it on about a half cock notch. That'll keep some of the spring pressure off of it. We're going to take and put our pin in our mainspring housing. We'll have to scoot down here on the bench to do this to get it started.
And you're just pushing up on the mainspring housing?
Right, pushing up, because even with a hammer on half cock notch, it'll have a little spring tension on it.
Yeah.
And what we'll do is we'll get our rounded punch set in this pin. And gently knock that back into place. Okay, at this point the grip safety is still loose. We'll take our lubed thumb safety, go ahead and cock our hammer back, because the thumb safety will not go in or out with the hammer in the down position. Bear in mind, same as it was when we were taking it apart, the thumb safety has to go in a position that's between the on position and the off position. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to push the plunger up at the same time, kind of feeling around for that slot in the frame. Which we hit the very first time. Now it will go on into the off position and back into the on position. Okay, at this point we're ready to take our slide assembly. We'll take some more of the Ultima Lube grease and run a little track of that down the groove on the frame on both sides. I'll even put a little bit in there where the spring guide is going to be contacting the steel parts in the front of the apron. Take the slide, we'll put a little bit of the Ultima Lube oil on the spring guide. It's another area where you get a lot of friction. Then we'll take this and slide it together just like this. Link needs to be forward. We'll slide it together like so. And at this point we'll take the slide stop, we'll take and stick it in the slide stop hole through the link in the barrel. And you can push the slide forward. Then you're ready to put the recoil spring plug down on the recoil spring itself and turn the bushing over it. We'll get our safety glasses back on for this. Put the plug on the spring, push that down in there, capture it with your left thumb, and turn the bushing counterclockwise until the plug pops up into its area.
From there you just rack it back and say go ahead and put the, you test it a couple times, put your grips on and you're done. You don't have to put the grips back on.
At that point you can pretty much cycle the slide a few times. You can see where we've got it lubed up real nice on top of the barrel. The only place that we've really missed at this point is putting a little bit of the grease, the Ultima Lube grease, out on the end of the barrel itself. Because that gets hot, and as you fire it several times, it gets extremely hot, and the grease seems to stay on the barrel surfaces a lot better than the oil. So now we'd call that gun fully lubed. All we have left to do is put the grips back on. We can do that real quickly. Okay, we've got this thing back together and basically ready to take it out and fire a few shots with it to see how it works. With the, as you can tell by listening to the gun cycle, with the help of the Ultima Lube, it has slicked everything up, made everything nice and smooth running, and maybe we'll take it out and shoot it a little.
Cowboy action shooting is the #1 shooting sport in America today. It's fun, it's friendly, it's competitive, and it's a great way to meet new people with a common interest in the Old West. The sport has literally created entirely new marketplaces for Old West clothing, boots, hats, and leather gear, and has breathed new life into firearm manufacturers who specialize in cowboy action-style guns.
Leaf Springs was a fine design back 125 years ago, but nowadays the coil springs have really took over. And there's some modifications. We periodically will put this type of spring in the Colts just to make them last a little longer.
In order to get the most performance, accuracy, and reliability from these guns, shooters have turned to skilled gunsmiths to customize and beautify their firearms. In the Old West, a gunsmith was a trusted friend and partner. Today, a gunsmith can not only help you win tournaments, he'll help you win the admiration and envy of your fellow shooters.
If you take it out in this order, if you put it back in this order, you won't have any problem at all. You'll be a pro in no time.
One of the top cowboy action gunsmiths in America today is Larry Crow. Larry owns and operates Competitive Edge Gunworks in Bogard, Missouri. He is a member of the prestigious American Pistolsmith Guild, specializing in single-action revolvers. In the program you're about to see, Larry Crow shows you complete disassembly and reassembly of the Ruger Vaquero single-action revolver, along with cleaning and maintenance tips that will help you keep your gun reliable and accurate for years to come.
And that's the purpose of these videotapes, is to show you exactly how your gun works and make you more user-friendly with your piece of equipment. Just simply disassemble your gun once a year and give it a thorough cleaning. If you're shooting black powder, obviously you have to do it a little bit more often.
This program was recorded entirely at the Murray State College School of Gunsmithing in Tishomingo, Oklahoma. Many thanks go to Dean Arnold, the director of the gunsmithing department, for his assistance in producing this program. Now, Here's Master Gunsmith Larry Crow with the Ruger Vaquero, complete disassembly and reassembly, cleaning and maintenance.
I was educated today.
Yeah.
Because I've never done this. It's very dangerous, number one. Number two, it's very few places you can do an experiment like this.
Right.
You got to know the speed of your vehicle. You got to know the velocity of your bullet.
And the distance,
and the distance from the
Because
target.
if we were to walk this back another 10 yards, it would be a whole different ballgame, right?
Oh, right. We would double the lead at least.
Really? Wow.
We could do the study and say, well, on an average, this ammunition goes at a certain velocity from the factory. What we're going to do is take it a step further and go ahead and do it ourselves, and the chronograph will register exactly what each shot is. 999. Okay, we got 1180 feet per second. We're smoking at 1523. The last two are 2958.
It's moving down the road fast. It's moving up and down fast. It's moving all kinds of directions fast. It's not a great hit, but it's not a bad hit either.
It is a hit.
Any hit at 40 miles an hour is a good hit. Once the speed bumps up to 30 miles an hour, you start getting quite a ways off the target.
This is amazing to me, how far ahead. I never thought you'd have to lead this much, really. But again, I've never tried this before.
Hello, I'm Lenny McGill, and welcome to my backyard swimming pool. Today, we're going to do something very interesting and certainly unusual. We're going to test handguns underwater. About 5 years ago, I was watching a movie with Sidney Poitier as the FBI agent, the good guy, chasing a bad guy throughout Vancouver. And in the final scenes of the movie, they ended up on a ship. And Sidney Poitier was injured. He had been shot once. He rushed the bad guy, and the two of them fell 30 feet into the water. And it looked as though the bad guy, who was much larger, was going to win. He was going to kill Sidney Poitier by strangling him underwater. He had him by the neck, and it looked like it was over. And just in the last instant, Sidney Poitier pulled his revolver and fired 2 shots at point-blank distance, at contact distance, into the bad guy, neutralizing the bad guy and ending the movie on a positive note. Well, ever since then, I've been interested in knowing how effective handguns are underwater. Will they actually shoot? Will the bullet actually travel at a velocity that can be dangerous? And one of the things I find most interesting about this subject is everybody I talk to is fascinated and everybody has a different opinion. Some say that the bullet won't even travel 2 to 3 feet. Others say, hey, you're going to blow up your guns. My wife says, don't shoot my pool. And a lot of people say, you know, the sound is so deafening because water transmits sound so effectively. What do you think? Well, obviously, that's one of the reasons you're watching the program. So without giving away too much of the story, here's just a preview of what you'll see in this program. Coming up, we'll shoot several different automatic pistols and several different revolvers. You'll see and hear the shots from above the water. Woo! Woo-hoo! Good. And look at that, it's cycled. You'll see and hear the shots from below the water. And of course, you'll see the shots at normal speed and in slow motion, and even super slow motion. We'll shoot at a 3/4 inch piece of plywood, and later even shoot a pumpkin, all in an effort to find out how effective handguns are underwater. So what's very exciting for all of us here, including myself, is that we don't really know what's going to happen because I've never really shot a gun underwater before. So stay with me as we get started with underwater shooting tests and evaluations. Since its inception in the early 1830s by a young Samuel Colt, the revolver has been the mainstay of personal protection handguns. From the 1870s right through the 1990s, revolvers were the handgun of choice for law enforcement professionals worldwide. However, with the advent of new manufacturing techniques in the 1980s, the automatic handgun grew in popularity. So much so that by the mid-1990s, almost all modern law enforcement agencies had switched to the semi-automatic handgun. The revolver, of course, is still a formidable weapon, especially in the hands of a skilled shooter. Perhaps the greatest revolver shooter to compete in recognized competitions in the 20th century is Jerry Micklich. Jerry is a true champion competition shooter, winning the Soldier of Fortune 3-gun competition, the IPSC 3-gun nationals, the American Handgunner World Speed Shoot-Off Championship, the International Revolver Speed Championship, and two-time overall winner of the Second Chance competition, as well as placing in the top 20 of most modern action pistol competitions. He is known for his amazing abilities with a revolver, shooting and reloading as fast as the world's best with automatic pistols. Jerry Micklich is also an accomplished gunsmith, working with revolvers, automatic pistols, rifles, and shotguns. He and his wife, Kay Clark Micklich, along with Jim Clark Sr. and Jim Clark Jr., operate from the Shootout in Princeton, Louisiana, a 150-acre shooting facility and custom shop dedicated to competition shooting sports. Clark Custom Guns is recognized worldwide as one of the premier custom gunsmiths, improving accuracy and reliability of pistols, rifles, and shotguns, and specializing in Ruger 1022 rifles and Mark II pistols, 1911 style handguns, Smith & Wesson revolvers, and AR-15 type rifles.
See, what we're going to talk about is the wise use of your time with your trigger finger.
According to Jerry, the release of the trigger is even more important than the pull for fast revolver shooting.
Every movement has a use. If it doesn't have a use, don't do it.
In this program, we'll address how much accuracy is really necessary.
You only shoot it accurate as what the shot needs to be. If I see a front blade on that target, I'm going to give it a shot.
How fast is a revolver?
I can never outshoot my gun the way it's set up. When I fire a shot, it's down waiting, saying, come on, boy, give me another one. You know, even at 12, 1300 splits, it's waiting on me.
We'll talk about the importance of basic fundamentals.
Your front sight is your only friend. You've heard that a million times. You have to look at the front sight, front sight, front sight. It's a boring job.
But someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to do it.
We'll also address the importance of grip design for fast and accurate revolver shooting.
This is like 10, 12 years worth of trial and error. It looks really simple, but it took that long to understand exactly what I needed in a stock, what was BS and what was good.
Welcome to Ultimate Advanced Revolver. Exhibition shooters are a delight to see and hear. They are part comedian.
Some morning, if you have a little trouble with your grapefruit, or your orange juice, or your vitamins, let's try out one of those vitamin crushers. So we will.
Folks, that orange was loaded with dynamite.
Part showman.
Just to show you that this is not a dangerous thing at all. All right, now I'm going to shoot it, and you'll notice that the bullet bounced harmlessly off the aluminum pie plate.
And all expert shooter.
Elapsed time on the clock, just for the draw itself, is 4/100ths of 1 second, and you wondered why you couldn't see it.
Putting together an entertaining show that will delight and amaze you. For more than 50 years, exhibition shooters have traveled the United States of America, showcasing their skills for millions of people, young and old alike. They make it look so easy, so simple, and so much fun.
Well, he'll split the bullet into two halves on the edge of that knife. He did it.
Yet those of us who shoot know that to perform these skills with such ease, on command, in front of a crowd of anticipating people, takes years of practice, patience, and God-given talent. One such shooter is Tom Knapp.
Oh, there he is! Right there.
For the past 15 years, Tom Knapp has delighted crowds worldwide with his speed and accuracy with a shotgun and unique wit and delivery of his humor.
The vanilla is empty, and I'm going to take a walk or a little step away from that cartridge. And when I get up, what the hell am I doing?
He is the ultimate showman shooter, sponsored by Benelli Shotguns since 1993 and Winchester Ammunition since 1990. Tom started shooting the Daisy Model 25 when he was just 9 years old. To get to this level of skill and confidence, he shot over 100,000 rounds per year for more than 10 years. Today, he shoots a comfortable 40,000 rounds per year to maintain his level of skill. Do the math, and you'll see that's more than 110 rounds per day, every day.
Come on,
Tom Knapp is both amazing and truly funny. The performance you're about to see was recorded at the 2001 End of Trail Cowboy Action Shooting World Championship match. For more information on Tom Knapp, go to his website at www.tomknapptheshootingstar.com. For more information about the End of Trail, visit www.sassnet.com. Now, here's America's shooting star, Tom Knapp. In sporting competitions of skill and ingenuity, only once or twice in a decade does an individual come along who completely dominates the competition. Nowhere has this been more apparent than in the sport of high-power rifle shooting.
Okay, maybe we'll get our stuff together. Should have been X about 4 o'clock.
Here, shooters are challenged by the wind, the sun, and other natural elements at 200, 300, 600, and 1,000 yards as they attempt to place a bullet the diameter of a pencil into a bullseye that varies from 5 inches to 10 inches in diameter. High-power rifle shooting is a test of physical skill, acquired knowledge, and mental concentration. Over the past 10 years, one competitor has won more national championships, won more awards, and set more national records than any high-power rifle shooter to ever live. His name is G. David Tubb, and his credentials are quite impressive. 7-time national high-power rifle champion, 8-time national silhouette champion, 5-time national light hunting rifle silhouette champion. Overall, G. David Tubb has earned 29 open individual national championships and hundreds of regional, local, and individual titles. He is without a doubt the most accomplished and skilled high-power rifle shooter to ever compete in organized competition. It is the goal and desire of every shooter to be able to place accurate, precision shots at challenging distances. Nowhere is this more important than when hunting for big game. The very nature of big game hunting dictates that most shots will be taken at distances greater than 100 yards, with some shots requiring precision out to 500 yards.
We're going to try and hit a ram that we've distanced out at 400 yards on the top edge of the bank over there.
In this program, G. David Tubbs shares with you a lifetime of knowledge and information focused on the placement of accurate and consistent rifle shots, with a direct emphasis on overcoming the challenges of big game hunting. He'll discuss the hunting rifle, ballistics of ammunition, sighting in your scope, shooting positions, taking your shot, and much more. Tubbs' knowledge of hunting and rifle shooting is equally matched by his ability to share this information with you. For these reasons, Tubbs is uniquely qualified to present the information you're about to see. I'm Lenny McGill. Now, here's G. David Tubbs with long-range rifle shooting techniques for big game hunters. Shooting accurately at 200, 300, and 600 yards is a rewarding accomplishment. Difficult in the best of conditions, you will impress yourself when you can hit inside the 10 ring time and time again. Yet, when you move out to 1,000 yards, the difficulty increases exponentially. It's not twice as hard, it's 5 times as hard. The target looks much smaller, and your rifle sights seem to move as if they're on a roller coaster. Even your heartbeat will cause the sights to bobble uncontrollably. Imagine what that does to your accuracy. Now, let's increase the difficulty even more and move out to 1 mile. That's 5,280 feet, or 1,760 yards. Here, you can barely see the target with the unassisted human eye. The crosshairs of your scope cover the 10 ring and almost cover the entire black of the target. The bullet takes approximately 3 seconds to travel this distance, and it drops an incredible 112 feet.
Actually, any sort of shot at a mile, however you do it, is a shot at a mile. You know?
To hit the target at this distance takes a unique understanding of the rifle and ammunition, as well as the conditions in which you are shooting. In this program, G. David Tubbs attempts a 1 mile shot on his property outside of Canadian Texas. You'll see the incredible results and then be even more amazed as Tubbs and I move into 1,000 yards and break a string of shots all within the 20-inch 10 ring. I'm Lenny McGill. Now, here's G. David Tubbs with the 1 mile shot. In law enforcement, tactical snipers and counter snipers rarely shoot at distances more than 200 yards. In fact, most shootings take place at distances of less than 75 yards. And while this in itself is not considered a difficult shot for a competent rifle shooter, law enforcement shooters are often encumbered by the lack of a clear shot at the target, a target that is moving, a less than ideal shooting position, and the presence of bystanders and/or hostages. For these reasons, law enforcement rifle marksmen must develop the ability and skills to shoot high-precision shots quickly and from a variety of shooting positions. To clarify high precision, it is safe to say that law enforcement rifle shooters must develop the ability to shoot quarter-sized targets out to 100 yards consistently and under a variety of circumstances. Even more importantly, the law enforcement rifle shooter must know and understand his rifle and ammunition so that he can adjust his scope and his hold on the target when the target moves from 25 to 50 yards, or 75 to 60 yards, or 50 to 100 yards, or any variation you could imagine. This program you're about to see details that and a whole lot more. Now, here's G. David Tubbs and me, Lenny McGill, with extreme accuracy, tactical sniper shooting techniques for law enforcement. Tubbs, like many other shooters in the late 1990s, has recently switched to a semi-automatic AR-15 style rifle. Coming up in this 2-part program, you'll see Tubbs' personal rifle and the modifications he has done to it. why he feels it is superior to traditional bolt-action rifles. Shooting positions at 200, 300, and 600 yards, and a unique look at what Tubb sees when he is looking through his rifle sights. Now, let's get started with another program from the Extreme Accuracy series with G. David Tubb. I'm Lenny McGill. Here's Extreme Accuracy High Power Rifle Competition.
I would say that these rifles are as accurate as most all of the bolt rifles that are out there. Two good shots. Now today, when it's blowing around, it's like, you know, or it might be this, or it might come in and it might settle for a minute, and you're able to shoot the shot. Shot was a bit at 6 o'clock, but not only are you dealing with what your performance is, but you're also dealing with Mother Nature pushing on you. Right. I would track in about like this, bang, shot went off.
Shooting a high-powered rifle at distances of 200, 300, 500 yards and beyond challenges your physical skills and understanding of the fundamentals of marksmanship. At these distances, small mistakes can extrapolate to large misses. And as you master the fundamentals, your knowledge of your equipment and ammunition becomes even more important. For accuracy becomes a test of your mental skills. This program explores two important areas of long-range rifle shooting: understanding rifle scopes and understanding rifle ballistics. It is presented to you by G. David Tubb, one of the world's most successful competition long-range rifle shooters. I'm Lenny McGill. Now, here's G. David Tubb with another volume from the Extreme Accuracy series, Understanding Rifle Scopes and Ballistics.